something a bit different. The bash plates, side steps and racking system also give the Ranger a bit of its own flavor. Throw in the matrix LED lighting and keen ute spotters will soon pick the X from the rest. Practicality: how practical is its space and tech inside? The Ranger's interior matches the car's exterior. It's huge. There's a ton of room in the front and the chairs are generous and well padded. The rake and reach adjustable steering column is also good to see, and some of the competition misses out on this. The huge, portrait-oriented center touchscreen seems to work well, and the integrated navigation is about as good as it gets. We would, however, prefer a switch for things like the locking rear differential, rather than having to find it in a menu on the touchscreen. Oh, and you've got to love the row of blank roof switches just waiting for the owner to wire up a few toys like extra lights, a fridge outlet and maybe even an inverter for charging phones and laptops in the scrub. The wireless charging pad is a great idea, but USB charging and 12-volt sockets are limited to one of each in the front and rear. The doors all have wide pockets, but they appear quite shallow for something top-heavy like a bottle. The upper and lower glove box is a his and hers masterstroke. But for some strange reason, the bonnet release catch is on the passenger's side of the cabin. The rear seat is typical for this style of vehicle, with a steep backrest and not a lot of plushness in evidence despite the leather and suede covering. Air vents for the rear are limited to center vents only, and with the dark headliner, the rear compartment is a bit cave-like for some tastes. Meantime, despite all that space, some will find the driver's door opening a bit tight, especially if you've used the side step to climb in. And where are the paddle shifters for the transmission? These might seem trite in a pickup, but off-road, they're worth their weight in gold. The tray is the usual mix of decent width with a wish for more length, but that's dual cab utes for you. As it is, the tray can at least take a standard pallet between the wheel arches, and the tub is lined with a tough, plastic material that, although it allows objects inside to slide around a bit, should be hard-wearing. Plenty of tie-downs, including movable ones higher up, are a great touch, and the standard, electrically operated roller shutter tonneau cover is nothing short of brilliant. So is the flexible rack system, which allows the load-bearing parts to be located anywhere along the length of the tray and even work in conjunction with the roof rails for really long loads. Under the bonnet, what are the key stats for its engine and transmission? The Wildtrak X breaks some new ground here, and while every other twin-turbo Ranger variant has used the part-time all-wheel drive system, the X is the first twin-turbo model to gain the Raptor's full-time capable four-wheel drive setup. The system still has a two-wheel drive mode, but can be switched to high-range four-wheel drive with an open center differential to cope with bitumen road use in that mode. The catch is the Wildtrak X can't be had with the V6 turbo diesel, instead being fitted exclusively with the twin-turbo, four-cylinder turbo diesel, which nevertheless squeezes 150 kilowatts and 500 nanometers from its 2.0-liter displacement. That's actually down 4 kilowatts on the non-AdBlue version of the same engine. The only transmission available is Ford's 10-speed automatic, but there's a locking rear differential as part of the package. Even though it offers permanent all-wheel drive, there is a low-range function giving the necessary gear ratios for serious off-road work, and the full-time AWD platform also allows for trail control, which acts as a sort of low-speed, off-road cruise control, below 32 km per hour. There's also trail turn assist, which combines the vehicle's brakes with steering input to help initiate sharp turns in tight spots, again at low speeds typical of off-roading. Efficiency: what is its fuel consumption? What is its driving range? One of the Wildtrak X's boasts is that it's the first Ranger variant to meet the new Stage 6 EU emissions standard for light trucks. But to do so, it requires the use of AdBlue, so that will add a little to running costs. You'll need to fill the 18-liter AdBlue tank probably every 12,000 to 15,000 kilometers at a rough price of $100 depending on where you buy your AdBlue. Beyond that, the official combined fuel consumption figure is 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which, combined with the standard 80-liter fuel tank, gives the Wildtrak X a theoretical range of better than 900 kilometers. Our real-world test drive netted an average consumption figure of between 10 and 11 liters per 100 kilometers, but that included some slow, off-road track use. Driving: what's it like to drive? No surprises to learn that the Wildtrak X drives pretty much like any other Ranger. The 17-inch wheel and tire package provides a bit of sidewall flex which is welcome most of the time and will make a difference off-road. The Bilstein dampers improve stability in faster corners, but don't really do anything for ride comfort. That said, the basic Ranger platform provides better than average ride quality in the first place, so the X model continues that theme. Performance from the twin-turbo engine is adequate rather than generous, and the V6 available in other Ranger models remains, for most of us, the superior power plant. There's no doubt, however, that the 4-cylinder turbo diesel fitted here is up to the job. It simply doesn't have the extra dollop of urge up top, nor is it as sophisticated as the V6. The 10-speed transmission is smooth and refined, and our only real gripe is the manual shifting setup. Rather than paddles or a T-bar that can be flicked across to a manual plane, Ford has insisted on retaining the lever-mounted switches to manipulate the transmission. The problem is that, in this case, the switches themselves are small, hard to find, tucked almost underneath the shift lever, and are black switches on a black background, making them almost invisible, especially when you need them the most. On the bitumen they're fiddly, off-road they're next to useless. The other thing to be careful of is the Ranger's ability to disguise its current velocity. The high seating position, tall gearing, 10th gear is almost never selected below 100 km/h, and relaxed feel of the engine means that it's entirely possible to underestimate your speed by a good chunk. The game then becomes one of watching the speedo like a hawk. Our other observation is that the gearing is so tall and the transmission so keen to get to the next gear to save you fuel, that the engine sometimes feels like it's lugging at 1500 or 1600 RPM. By 1800 RPM, the sensation through the seats and floor has gone, but it's definitely there at lower engine speeds. Some people won't notice it, but for others it spoils the relative refinement the Ranger otherwise displays. Off-road, the Ranger in any of its forms is as good as the best of them and better than most. The extra ground clearance of the X, combined with the beefier tires and great transmission, makes light work of trails and tracks. Off-road is also where the selectable drive modes for mud, snow, rocks, and whatever come into the game, too, and even though there's a bit of gimmickry here, the overall off-road ability of the Ranger is never questioned. The main thing to watch is that the Ranger remains a very big vehicle by any standards, and the extra 15 mm of tire sticking out of each side hasn't changed a single thing there. Safety: what safety equipment is fitted? What is its safety rating? The importance of safety in commercial vehicles has never been higher than it is now, which is why the current Ranger platform was engineered with the latest passive and active safety gear in mind. On the passive front, that extends to no less than 9 airbags, including full-length side curtain bags for all outboard seating positions, as well as a full-length knee airbag for both driver and front seat passenger. There's also a center airbag, which is a novelty in this category. The active side of things is the job of the latest driver aids, including adaptive cruise control with a stop-go function, lane keeping assistance, traffic sign recognition, cross-traffic alert, blind spot monitoring, autonomous emergency braking, post-impact braking, evasive steer assist, tire pressure monitoring, and a 360-degree camera view, as well as parking sensors at both ends. It's also worth mentioning the Ranger lineup's excellent inbuilt towing functions, which not only make towing easier, but also safer in an overall sense. Despite the fitment of the X model's front bash plate, the Ranger's maximum 5-star NCAP rating carries over to this car. Ownership: what warranty is offered? What are its service intervals? What are its running costs? Ford offers prepaid fixed-price servicing on the Wildtrak X with the first 4 years or 60,000 kilometers, whichever comes first, of general servicing available at $1,200 including GST. The scheduled service intervals are every 12 months or 15,000 kilometers. In terms of overall running costs, the Wildtrak X should be no different to any other Ranger using the twin-turbo engine, with the exception that the latest emissions controls require the use of AdBlue. Ford also throws in roadside assistance with the Ranger, and will maintain that coverage for up to 7 years provided the vehicle is serviced at a participating Ford dealer. Ford's standard warranty for the Ranger is 5 years/unlimited kilometers.